Okay, well, I'll call this meeting to order and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting, November 12th. Everyone's had a chance to take a look at them. Any corrections that we need to make? Seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the minutes of the last board meeting.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to approve last board meeting's minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item of business is the general fund vouchers. 76,236 through 76,319. Wire transfers 18190,190 through 18190,244, and activity fund vouchers 9375 through 9398.
I'll move to approve.
I second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we approve the general fund vouchers as read. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And then the next item is our public comments section. Nobody here to bring anything up, so then we'll move on to the next item of business, our new business, approval of the high school course proposals.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gillis. We have two courses that are up for board approval, that the one in the health department and then one in the art department.
You guys have the handout already, right? So I'll just briefly summarize both of them. Ms. Drosick is proposing a semester-long class, and she's really trying to help us target kids who are interested in going into the medical field. You see some of the topics there. It's a wide range. It's good stuff: nutrition, CPR, first aid, infection control, sports medicine. Lots of good opportunities for kids to get exposed to other potential health careers than just the traditional doctor and nurse kinds of opportunities. She has got one prerequisite of health class, and then there's some learning targets there in the list that you can see. I really like to see that she's growing that health PE program and coming out with stuff like this. We have kids already taking over ITV, some medical terminology kinds of coursework, but this is a much more broad exposure to some really good healthcare field things. So I think it's a great opportunity. I'd like to propose that we offer that one. The other one is a folk art class offered by Mrs. Waterman. You can see in the description there, I'd like to offer it as a stacked class, and by that I mean she has some advanced art students, and there may be only one or two in a class, and she's willing to offer the opportunity for these kids to join another already class in session and just focus on their thing, kind of like an in-house independent study addition to the coursework. And she's interested in dealing with the folk art and the topic areas listed there. She's also listed the state standards that would apply to this kind of a class. So I'd like to propose that we also offer that one as well.
I think it looks great. I do too.
Yeah. All right, so we need to approve those two courses, it looks like.
Yep.
I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve two courses, two new courses.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to approve the two high school course proposals. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And then we'll move. Well, you're welcome, Nick. Next item of business, the approval of the staff resignation.
Okay, so I have included the resignation letter from Mr. Paul Warner. Took a position that he's been trying to get for quite some time, and so wish him the best of luck, and he's going to be a big loss to the district.
Okay. Would you guys like me to read his letter? It's with Dear Clear Lake School Board, it's with mixed emotions that I am informing all of you that I have accepted a full-time position with the U.S. Postal Service at the Clear Lake office. This position at the school district came to me at a crossroads in my life that I gratefully accept and I have always been thankful for. I have thoroughly enjoyed this opportunity to work here with all of the great people and students. My tentative end date is 11/30/2018. Once again, it's been an honor to work for the school district of Clear Lake. Sincerely, Paul T. Warner.
I'll move to approve the staff resignation. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the staff resignation with many thanks for the years of service, Paul. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And then we'll move on to the approval of the 2019-2020 district calendar.
Yeah, so this is for next year's school calendar. This is the proposed calendar brought by the calendar committee. Pretty closely reflects what we have this year with 177 student contact days, 188 staff contact days.
Am I reading this right? That there's really only one early release day?
There will be.
Two with the last day?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
Christmas just fell on
Okay. Oh,
that Wednesday.
Well, then I will entertain a motion.
move to approve the new calendar for 1920 school year.
Second.
And properly moved and seconded that we approve the district calendar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business is the approval of the 2018-19 administrator salary adjustments.
Okay, so read your notes. If you want to discuss that in closed session, we can table that in closed session.
Okay.
And then come back out and
All right. So then the next item of business will be the approval of a floor scrubber purchase.
So last year we discussed this, probably don't even remember it, but we have a floor scrubber at the high school here that's just getting old. We were looking at trading that one in last year and getting a new one. We decided to hold off, so this year I think it's time. We have a trade-in deal. So you can look at the quote. They're going to give us, that's,
$106.
I apologize, that's not
the wrong
that's
one.
not the right one.
Yeah, let's do it.
$136.
I was looking at the same thing. I'm like, a sensor filter?
No, it's right now. They're giving us a $5,000 trade-in. I want to say it's like 19,000. It was in what I emailed you. I apologize.
No, that's okay. Is this, Chris, didn't we just get one of these not too long ago, that like a super duper floor scrubber model? Back when you were tenure in here?
It was probably a couple years ago that they can ride on.
Yeah.
The elementary one was purchased in 2012.
That's the one that
Yeah,
I'm thinking of.
This one's over 10 years old.
What about Walmart? They're getting robot ones in their stores now.
Wander the halls at night.
Get Nick on that? Could he pick something like that up?
Like a giant Roomba?
Yeah, basically.
Basically.
That's the name of that thing. I gotta.
She'll love it.
Be like, we'll have to talk, Nettie. So this-
14 net then, or what are we looking at?
It's right around the kind of 15,000 ballpark. I don't have the exact number, so if you want the exact numbers, I can certainly get
But
that.
each building has their own, right, yeah.
They
So,
don't drive up another street very
Yeah, come
No,
on.
so what we're doing right now is
Sidewalks are clean
we're
now.
taking the elementary one and bringing it over here every time we need it, and it's just been a hassle because the one over here is not doing the trick. So it's definitely time.
so we are going back and forth with one machine.
Oh, you know what?
Wait.
Yeah, we are right now.
It's the same one that was attached to our email.
Yeah.
And that is why the
Filter.
sidewalk is so clean between here and there.
Yeah.
I move to approve the purchase of a new floor scrubber.
Okay.
A second.
Did this come from Osmond desk,
Yeah.
this request? Okay.
Yep.
Well, it's been properly moved and seconded that we approve the floor scrubbing machine for the high school. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
All opposed? Motion passes, but let Tom know that it's not usually this easy.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll move on to the next item of business, and that's approval of the esports club.
Okay. So I apologize about that one. Thanks. So the esports club is something that Mr. Bo Osmonrud proposed. It's kind of like a gaming club. I'll let Mr. Gillis share on it. We had they held a meeting just to see what the level of interest was, and they're going to be pretty much building like a gaming computer, and then competing against other school districts. Really just gaming. I'll let you had the first meeting.
You know,
Since I botched that one up.
I'm going to preface this with one of the things that you constantly hear about in educational literature is that kids are involved in something in school, do better at school. And even though that this is gaming and it kind of has the voodoo culture of, you know, we don't want our kids gaming all the time, one of the things that this does is it teaches kids a sense of team, and it teaches them a sense of belonging to their school because they're competing against other schools. There's also scholarships involved, potential scholarships involved for graduates of the school and the program. So, you know, there's a lot of positives I can see, because when it came to me first, I'm like, no way. You know, I started thinking, gaming, are you kidding? And then Mr. Osmond and I started talking about how these students typically, and I know this group of kids, I see them every morning at the table, they're like this, you know, they're not looking up, they're not really talking to each other, and there's 20 of them. And those kids aren't involved or engaged in other clubs in the building. You know,
Right.
so now we have something that's in their wheelhouse and in their interest, and you know, we can call them the nerds, call them what you want, but we also want to teach them and have the opportunity for them to learn how to build their own computers. And Bo is interested in walking them through that as the advisor for the club, and have them come in, and we're going to order component parts, and they're going to find out what the magic inside the box is and how it talks and how it works. And, you know, so I see as we build this thing, I can see a whole lot of positives for these kids. And right now we're at the very, very beginning stage. We just had our first initial meeting just to see who's going to show up and who wants to be part of it. So we had 20 kids at our first meeting. So it's a pretty significant group of kids. I was thinking maybe a dozen. But, so they're communicating and they're talking about the opportunities that are going to be involved. We're still laying down the groundwork for it. You know, it's very new and quickly rising in Wisconsin. There's actually a club, and there's actually a competition among schools, and there's a conference and a league, and they've got shirts and hats, and it's a pretty crazy thing how fast it's growing. And if anything else, Clayton has one playing on. We want to work on them.
Saw an article recently in the National Federation catalog magazine about esports. And starting to be recognized by the National Federation of High School Sports.
I think we're one of the few schools that are making a focus on building our own computers to compete. And I think that's one of the really valuable skills that these kids are going to get out of this, is learn how to put one together, how to troubleshoot it, how to take it back apart and repair it, and I think that's a good skill. So I think it offers a lot for this group of kids that aren't really engaged in school and other reasons. Additionally, we're going to have requirements just like a club. We want them to not have missing assignments. We want them to be on green. You know, we want to have these kids for something to work for in the building. And I think it's going to be a real carrot kind of thing for them.
So we're going to do like this during school or after school? Or?
We have the wrap period where we're probably going to meet.
Okay.
And they might compete against each other in practice, if you will.
Sure.
And that, of course, is if they're on green. If they got their grades up and their homework is in.
Keep them in green.
Yeah, it might be an incentive to keep some of those kids on green, and there's several that could use a little bit of incentive.
And then the competitions that take place are like between 5 to 6, I guess.
Yep.
They've scheduled them
Similar
after the
competitions,
like
yeah.
sporting and other activities. That's kind of nice.
What games will they actually be playing?
League of,
Now you're stretching.
I don't know what they are, but they're listed here. League of Legends.
StarCraft. The kids are like, oh yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was pretty impressed
I had
with
the
the
varsity.
handouts and everything in depth that they went and thought
Yeah.
through this.
Oh, they're
and-
there too. I had the varsity team in my house this weekend.
And Mr. Osmond Root is new to leading and coaching and that kind of stuff as far as that environment. So that's kind of what my role is. I'm kind of helping. I got the meeting going and we came up with an agenda. We talked about things that would be good for the kids to know about the organization, the club. And so, a great first meeting. Kids are really psyched about going.
Is there a time of year that this happens, like any other
I think
sport?
It happens in a few cycles through the year. Like we have a new season starting in January. From what closer, I say we, but it's not. It's the kids. You know, in January, another cycle starts, and then they compete for a couple months and rotations with other schools, and then, you know, we beat them all. You know.
So the club would probably go year round, but the
Yes.
competition part's like a 2-month long.
No, I think there's like
Oh,
a couple of cycles like that. There's like a spring and a fall
Okay.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Looks like there's one per season: spring, summer, fall.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry, just spring, summer,
And they
fall.
have a couple of other new games that are just coming up now that they want to get involved. So it started with just 2 games, and they're already bringing 2 more online. So, yeah.
Are we going to lose kids to to this from athletics?
There was 2 athletes that showed up and one's graduating. So I typically, Greg, just in my opinion, no. It's a different culture. It's different kids that are
Not
athletes.
really competing in the same time either necessarily, is it?
Right.
No.
And this being a club and those being WIA sports, you know, I'm hoping that they prioritize sports. Athletics.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so you're looking for approval, Mr. Gillis?
Yeah, that'd be great. If you could give us the go ahead and continue with that and get that rolling.
Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the esports club.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to approve the esports club. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And then the next, you're welcome. And then the next item of business is discussion of our 2017-18 district state report card.
Okay, so they're stapled, just as a FYI, but we put all the presentation and then all of the documents are in your binder. So the first document is just really the PowerPoint, and then after that is the data at a glance, the summary of the entire district, the Clear Lake High School report card, the junior high report card, and then the elementary report card. So they're all in there and they're all stapled together, so you might have to pull them out if you want to look at them individually. So we're just going to go through each slide with you guys. We're not going to pretend to be experts, the three of us, on this. This is just this document continues to change. How they calculate this, if you look at the detailed reports on DPI, are beyond. I'll speak for myself. They're beyond me. They're pretty intense to look at. So we're going to go over the just kind of each of the breakdown of the slides. So the first slide we have just what the district report card is. It gives you the 5 areas of categories of what the score, where the scores lie, and what that means. If you go to slide 2, and feel free to hop in, guys, if you have something to add. So the purpose of the report card, it was designed with a twofold purpose: reporting data on how Wisconsin schools are doing overall, and then providing information to schools on specific areas to improve. But it does take some time. We went on the three of us went to a full day workshop at CISA, just kind of that they do every year to just explain everything that many districts go to, and how the scores are calculated. There's a lot of different pieces that are involved in scoring, in coming up with the score for your school. And then it's based off a 3 and 5 year trend. Go ahead.
I'll jump, so things to remind people whenever you look at state report cards, things to not use it for is don't use it to look at how is my student doing. That's not what this test is for. And also how is this one class of kids doing this year? That's not what it's for. Like Mr. Ernst just said, you want to look. It's meant to measure how is a school addressing the state standards, and you want to look at it over your yearly trends, 3 to 5 years, because especially in a school like ours with the small sample size that we have, we tend to do this because this group of 35 kids versus this group of 50 kids, it bounces around a lot. So that's what the 3 to 5 year trends is important.
And then even your subgroups really impact your scores, your special ed population, your ELL population. If there's a fluctuation within those subgroups, it impacts your overall score.
It's important to remember that data and testing stuff is a snapshot in time. It's just a quick, here's how things are going that day with these kids. And it's not necessarily a reflection of the entire school.
So if you look at the next slide, it's based off of these 4 areas. The student achievement is 1, the 4 priority areas. Number 2 is school growth. 3 is closing the gaps. And then 4 is on track to graduation and post readiness. And then you can look below each of those areas are kind of identified how or what's involved in those. So for example, like school growth, the school district level value added, no student level growth at the high school, and that's only the 10th grader tested. Closing the gaps are kind of what I was referring to, where it looks at like a pocket of kids, like your special ed, your ELL, and then the subgroups performance specifically in ELA and math. And then lastly, the student engagement, your absentee rate, and then your dropout rate as well, which we do well in those two areas. So the next slide is what does student achievement score mean? What is the purpose of the priority area? The purpose of this priority area is to show how students' level of knowledge and skills at a specific district or school compares to state academic standards. So this is even where you can have a lower overall score and have a high student achievement if some of your subgroups aren't doing well. So this measure is a composite of your ELA and mathematics performance. All student groups in Wisconsin, student assessment system. The score is based on how students are distributed across the 4 performance levels that we discussed in the previous slide, and it takes 3 years of test data into account.
And we now have 3 years of data, right? I mean, it wasn't too long ago we didn't even have 3 years of
This is the 3rd year of the same test, yep.
With the exception of part of it has changed, though. So not.
Wait, is it the 3rd year? Sorry, this is the 3rd year. There's 3 years.
Yeah, they keep adding more tests in and taking things out and changing how it's calculated. And in small schools, like Mr. Pearson said, when we have this fluctuation of groups going through because our sample size is so small, every time they change it, our scores jump or drop, and it's really hard to keep after.
Yeah, because
this is the 3rd year.
we had 3 years where we had WKCE and then Badger test and then we had the forward test, but yeah, we are on the 3rd year of the forward test.
Okay, so the next one is.
And we're now in the 3rd year of all kids being forced to take the ACT. Yeah, whereas before that they were not.
What does school growth score mean? Academic growth is the measure of student progress between 2 points. Methods of measuring growth range from subtracting last year's test scores from this year's test scores, called a gain score. And everything in here is pulled directly from DPI. It's not verbiage that the 3 of us came up with, just so you know. So closing the gaps. This means like a subgroup that's just like it sounds is closing the gap. Maybe they have a poor year and then they're making progress. That impacts the scores, or vice versa. If you have a subgroup that doesn't do as well, that impacts your score negatively.
I was just at a workshop last week with someone else from our school, but we were looking at data from report cards, and just a reminder that so a lot of the subgroups, we don't have some of the subgroups because you have to have a certain number of kids in the group in order for it to count. The number is 20 in your school, so so some of the subgroups are Native American or Black or African American, so on. English language learners and so on are some of the subgroups that are traditionally have not achieved as well as their white student counterparts. But anyway, we don't have most of those subgroups because of our populations being so very small.
Does it get, I remember when we were doing that training, he said one of our subgroups would be more the financial side. Does it do a subgroup for that, for
Yeah.
lower income, to see how
Yeah.
they're doing with the
Yep.
gap?
Yep. Yep. That,
Part of the calculation.
Okay.
yep, that's at the elementary school anyway. That is our one group
That we qualify
that
for.
qualifies. And then what they do too, I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but they have these things called super groups where they will take, for example, students with disabilities and English language learners, combine those and call it a super group. And so we have a super group like that in the elementary school. So,
All right, so then we go to the next slide. On-track post-secondary readiness. The purpose of this priority is to give schools and districts an indication of how successful students are achieving educational milestones that predicts their post-secondary readiness. The first component is graduation rate, and then, like I said, the attendance, which we've typically, in the past, have done well in both those areas. And lastly, we have the next slide. The score fluctuations have impact on small subgroups, school districts, as well as schools with high ECD rates. Schools of different sizes are affected differently, which is, similar to what we were just talking about, where you have a population of kids. One area can really impact positively or negatively depending on how they perform. Okay, so now we're going to get into one last slide before it's kind of our data. This next slide is just the Wisconsin representation of the last 3 years of the data statewide. So you look at the enrollment, it's the 15-16, for example, you have all students, then public, and then choice, and you can kind of go across to see where the state percentages lie. And even on the specific report card, it also shows that as well.
Takeaway from that page too is if you look at it says, this is the percentage of students scoring proficient or advanced. And if you look at the percentages for all students, they're in the 40%. So what that tells you is that the bar is high for this test, because it's saying that only 40% of all students in Wisconsin are proficient. Mm-hmm. And I think that there will be other measures and other things to look at to say, I think more than 40% of kids, are achieving in language arts and math. So the point to take away from this is that the bar is very rigorous for this test.
Okay. So the next one is now specific to Clear Lake. So this is the overall summary of the school district. So it's pre-K all the way through 12th grade, I guess you could say, even though not all those kids are tested, but it's the entire district. Our score is 65.6, which meets expectations. Definitely could be higher. And then the summary of our school district is in the first handout after the PowerPoints. You can look through some of the details on that. Then if we go to the elementary, just kind of go through the scores. And elementary, we scored a 66.4, which meets expectations as well. The junior high is at a 65.6, which meets expectations.
The NAs that are on those pages,
That's the high school one.
does that take away from your score?
Nope.
Just means it doesn't apply to that school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like for the elementary, we'll have a graduation rate that's going to say NA because that doesn't apply to that school.
I could comment on the high school one.
And then
The past board meetings, I had commented and complimented on the ELA and math teams working to take apart the ACT test prompts and raise our scores. Although this doesn't look wonderful, looking at our last year's scores, our 16-17 score in ELA was 27.3 and we're up to 28. Math achievement was 23.4 and we're up to 25.5. When in fact in 16-17 the state scores, in 17-18 the state scores are lower than they were in 16-17. So while the state scores are coming down, ours are going up, which is a good takeaway. I think we're making steps in the right direction. And the comment on the section where it says on track and post-secondary readiness, when they're talking about a graduation rate of 93.8, when you think of if we have a class of 40 kids and one kid doesn't graduate, that's pretty significant numbers. And again, that just speaks to our very small sample size. Obviously, we want every kid walking across the stages as much as we can, but sometimes they need to want it as bad as we do when we're in the home stretch.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to say, though, that I wish the high school score was higher. We're on our way up. Our score last year was 59.4, and this year we're 61.6. So it's good to see that it's coming up.
So like Mr. Gill said, the score for the high school is a 61.6, which meets few expectations, but and then each packet, for your own, if you want to cruise through those, is kind of the detailed version of each high school, or I'm sorry, each school, so you can look through that, and then I give you the summary as well.
So is this the report that we see when we go on real estate searches?
No, where it gives you like the 5 stars or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they get those. Like,
It might likely be.
I think it actually is.
I don't think it's a state report card. Like Zillow, you're talking? Like
Yeah, like on Zillow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it'll rate out of 10 though, and they use their own data, but I think it is pulling state test scores.
But
mostly.
if you were looking at like rankings within the state, I think these scores are the ones they're pulling.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, okay. I think we should retake the test. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's positive things to take away, but this NA thing, graduation rate gaps, for the whole district summary, you're sure that NAs don't take our scores
like-
down?
Yeah, they don't calculate.
Because this one's an NA, but it shows that there's an applicable state score next to it.
Which report card are you looking at?
I'm looking at the overall
The
one.
district one?
Closing gaps, graduation rate gaps. So,
Under the District 1, under the closing gap section, the last number is graduation rate gaps.
you have an NA on yours too, Chris?
That
But-
could be, again, our sample size. might be
Our
too
sample
small.
size not big enough.
Yeah, I think it's measuring gaps between, say, African American and other students, or students with disabilities.
We're just
and other
not going to
students,
have a lot of
or-
those
yeah.
gap measurements, 'cause
Yeah,
they're
we
not
don't
big
have
enough.
I'm guessing, don't quote me 100%, but I'm guessing it means that we didn't have a big enough subgroup to have a gap score, is what I think that
So we
means.
get a 0 for that one.
So we have a lower gap score.
Well, we don't get a
Overall.
score.
It
just
didn't
get a score.
impact it positively or
You don't
negatively.
have so many students in it, you can't even calculate it.
Yeah, that's not hurting us. That
Okay.
the graduation score too, the graduation rate score on the school, that's not a straight percentage either, because there's a 4-year graduation rate and a 6-year graduation rate that the DPI calculates, and a 7-year, because you have sometimes students with disabilities who go to age 21 before they age out. You have kids who maybe finish in a 5th year, so it's not just a straight percentage of how many kids graduated. It's a complicated formula that factors the 5-year rate, the 7-year rate, the 6, whatever all together.
It would include kids that didn't finish here but did HSED, all those kinds of things are factored into that formula.
So even though it says out of 100, it's not a straight percentage.
I'm gonna go to the state report card school history. We've touched on it a little bit, but it gives you a little kind of breakdown of the last 7 years. And those first ones prior to the blue highlighted is different assessments, but the last 3 have been.
That's with all the students taking the ACT.
Yep.
And there's probably something to this with you're learning how to teach for these tests, kind of sort of thing too, or yeah, like you
Well,
did.
even the work that we put into preparing for ACT is just great.
Right.
Teachers taking the time to try to teach kids how to learn.
How many times do they test for this? Once.
One time.
shot.
That's the other thing,
Yep.
That's been a big shift. We've talked about that a ton. It's a big shift for, we were traditionally, if you compare it, our percentage of kids who took the ACT prior was, in the 30 to 40%, 40 to
Right.
40%, and now it's 100% of those kids. So it's been an
And
adjustment period for.
And if there's, like, I think one of my son's class, there's 35 or 40 kids or whatever, and the two smart ones are gone that day. Literally, right?
They would still make it up.
Yeah.
Actually.
Okay, they
They
okay.
still make up the test. Yeah, but it could be a case where two top students, their parents opt them out too, saying, "Yeah, we don't believe in that. We're not going to have to take the test." You can have that sometimes too. We don't have a lot of that. I mean, we have the vast majority of our kids, almost all of them, take it, but.
It can be a tough sell to kids when 60% of the class doesn't see themselves going on to college. Yeah, but this is good for our school score, please do well,
Do they have this broke out?
I remember there.
Like
I remember
sizes
being
of
there.
districts and stuff, as far as who's scoring better or worse, or imagine you can look it up somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can look it up on, there's a huge database on the DPI website. You'd have to compile all that data,
And I guess every district in the state is in the same boat and dealing with the same things we are. But I guess our point is, it's something to use to grow and look at, but it's something that you don't want to dwell on too much, and you don't want to celebrate too much either. It's just something that you look at and see what can we do differently, and use it just as part of our data that we use to make decisions in the district. And I think that's what we've been doing, and we'll continue.
It's one measure, one important measure, but it's not the only one.
Yep. So the last page, I think it's the last page. I guess second to last page. The, areas to grow. We talked about this last year. Things that we're already doing in the district. Overall achievement in ELA and math. But more importantly, looking at our, reviewing our curriculum, the standards work, aligning our curriculum and all of our curriculum and assessment work in the district. Is something that I think we're going to see hopefully impact these scores and our other data in the district as well. So we know what we need to do, and I think everybody is on board with the direction that we're headed as a district. Does have any questions? And if you guys do want more information, those links on that last page in the PowerPoint that I sent you will take you directly to the DPI website, and you can look at, if you wanted to look at more resources.
So if we're going to gear some of our resources at trying to get higher score on this particular assessment, how much of that time is a waste of time rather than working on the curriculum that we want to work on teaching our kids?
Say that again?
If we're going to start putting some of our resources towards just scoring well on this test, how much of that time is actually wasted where we could be working on the actual curriculums that we're working on with the kids? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How valuable is it to go through the ACT and review how to find out the area of a trapezoid? You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's what we're trying to do with that standards alignment process, is trying to not make it be two different things, trying to make it be that what we are teaching kids is aligned with what the standards are, which is what the test is measuring. And I think that's part of what we're trying to work on, is looking at what are the things that we're teaching that maybe we are redundant on and we're teaching too much of, and what are the areas where we have gaps where we're missing these standards. And it's a K-12 thing. It's not just, you don't just look at the 4th grade score and say this is what 4th grade did. I mean, that's pre-K through 4th grade all ties into that, and the high school score, that's pre-K through high school, that all goes into that score. So looking at our whole system and where are we missing, where do we have gaps, where are we overdoing certain things, what are the things that we've taught for years that we say, this really isn't measured, and we should not be spending time on this. Yeah, that's what we're trying to work through that process now.
Wow.
Also, just so you guys have the information, I texted Tom with the quote he got back to me on the floor scrubber is $16,600 with a trade-in of $5,000, which will bring it to $11,600. So just so you guys know what you approved.
Okay. Okay. You want to move on to superintendent notes then, Mr. Ernst?
Sounds good, yeah. So since our last board meeting, we've had, it's been kind of holiday season with different stuff going on in both buildings. But just we've had parent-teacher conferences over at the elementary building. that week of the 12th. Then we had quite a few home games with basketball. Have not had our first home wrestling meet yet, but the basketball, both programs are doing really well, the girls and the boys. Then we had our Thanksgiving break. We had our first reading night, pre-K, second grade, which I thought was a huge success. Big thank you to all of those teachers. My hope is that we'll be able to bring some of them in for the next board meeting to share out on that, but they can give you a little bit more information on. But that was an idea that came from the elementary staff that they brought to administration, as far as just coming up with ways to encourage and promote reading in the homes and collaborate with parents. So I thought, from a parent's perspective, I know Mr. Grosskreutz was there, but I thought the staff did a really nice job, and just kind of a fun opportunity for kids to be a part of it, and they got to take a free book with them as well. So I won't say too much more, Mr. Peterson. I don't know if you have anything more, but our hope is that we'll bring some teachers in to share out on it.
Yes, certainly they didn't have to do that or be there. You know,
Yeah.
that was right.
It was very neat.
Yeah. I don't know who was all in charge of it, but thanks to them.
Yeah, it was a group effort. It really was.
Yeah.
It was all teacher-led. So, and I believe I know they're discussing the possibility of also doing a math night as well.
Yeah.
So,
Hoping to do one of those in the spring.
yeah. So, like I said, hopefully they'll be on we'll bring one or two of them, if not more, to the next board meeting to share. Then we had boys basketball game at UW Stout was canceled, but we've also had some, like I said, some boys and girls basketball games. A lot of wins, home and away. This last weekend we had the wrestling invite in Barron. We had Matt Anderson with the first and Ivan Rubel with the second. Tonight we have the junior high concert here that's already started. We have our first home wrestling meet tomorrow against Spring Valley here. Boys basketball at Clayton. High school, junior high parent-teacher conferences on Thursday the 13th. Girls basketball at Clayton on the 14th. Wrestling in Osceola on that Saturday the 15th. The high school holiday concert on Monday the 17th. Girls basketball home at Boysville on the 18th. The elementary concert on the 20th, which I'm looking forward. We have looking forward to. Mrs. Corbett is running solo. It's her first year here. She's taken on a huge beast with Mrs. Berg out, and then her being brand new, and then also our band instructor here, Mr. Verhan, being brand new. So she's doing a nice job right now. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll be running that. And to be honest, it's very much a collaborative day where all of the teachers are involved. But she's leading that. And then we have Christmas vacation, or our holiday break, I should say, starting on Monday the 24th, Christmas Eve. So, and then the wrestlers go to the Northern Badger again on this year in River Falls on the 27th. So a lot of stuff. It seems like this year we don't have as many, certainly not as many home wrestling meets, but more home basketball. I feel like every other year it kind of alternates home and away. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ernst.
Yep.
The next item of business will be the contemplated closed session in accordance to WSS 19.85, paragraph 1C, considering employment compensation or performance data of any specific employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. We'll be discussing the approval of the 2018-19 administrative contracts and the district administrator evaluation for 2018-19. I'm going to pull the board. Natty?
Yes.
Skip?
Yep.
Myself, yes. Ryan?
Yes.
Christy?
Yep.
We are in closed session. Thank you, Lori. All right, we're back in open session.
I move to approve the administrative contract salary adjustments.
I second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we approve the 2018-19 administrator salary adjustments. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item of business is future agenda items. Does anybody have anything that they want to talk about in the future?
Maybe
Moving
we
the
should put
school
the
board
time
meetings
thing
to
on.
5:30.
Yeah, meeting change time.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Anything else?
I have a couple things we'll do. Approval of the superintendent evaluation results. We have admin contracts that we tabled. We have the audit review, and then verification of declaration of board candidacy. Oh, and possibly summer school dates and summer school compensation as well.
You have any candidates yet?
For school board?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay, anything else?
You feel yours hooked?
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned.